Welcome to GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, aka the Going North Podcast, where authors from around the world help you realize that success is tangible. You'll leave with at least one new piece of inspiration or information to help you keep going north. Now let's get on with the show. Today's episode is sponsored by the brand new Northbound to Your Success shop, where you can buy the wonderful logo, advance others to advance yourself in t-shirt form, mug form, heck, even a phone case if you like a phone case. Either way, click on shop on goingnorthpodcast.com, cop a t-shirt, hoodie or two, and be sure to tag the host when you do, so that way I can give you a shout out on a future episode of the podcast. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North Podcast, and we got a treat for you that's good enough to eat, because we got another super special, awesome human, folks. That's right, one of those, SPHs, yeah, that'll work, yeah, because today's guest, my goodness, she works with companies and individuals providing marketing, consulting, and writing services, and she currently resides in the great state of North Kakalaki, folks. That's right. Take your shirt off for spinning like a helicopter, y'all, like it's 2003, because she also lives in North Carolina with her wonderful husband and her son, and enjoys playing golf, writing, and she does kickboxing, hiking, and spending time with her family. So let's give it up for Ms. EJ herself, Miss Excellent and Joyful, the fabulous Emily Johnson. How you doing today, Emily?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. Yeah, Emily's one of those special folks, y'all, I'm telling you, because we started laughing like crazy people even before we pressed the record button. So you already know how that goes. It's like, oh, it might be one of them 3-hour interviews, folks. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, my goodness. Well, as you know, with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 37 and a half days long. So, mind filling in any cavities I may have missed about you, Emily?
Oh, goodness. I think you about covered a lot of it. As you said, I'm in marketing and advertising. I went to UNC Chapel Hill and graduated from the journalism school with a degree in mass communication and public relations. So I'm one of those awful people that tries to manipulate your mind and force you into find something you don't need. I'm evil that way. But, when I'm not trying to do that, like you said, I play golf and I love kickboxing and spending time outside. I used to love to travel, but I haven't been able to do that recently. Hopefully we'll get back there.
Yeah, that's right. Get back there indeed. That's right. That's right indeed. My goodness. That's right. All the magic. And if I'm not mistaken, like you actually played like collegiate golf, if I'm not mistaken, or actually won a championship or close to won a championship?
Well, I played as a junior golfer. I started playing golf when I was 8, when my mom decided she was sick of family holidays with my dad on the golf course and her with me at the pool. So we all started playing golf and I took to it. I played throughout junior golf. I played on the boys team in high school, and I was a member of the Nike Winter National All-American Junior team. And then I went on and played briefly in college, and then decided it was really, I never wanted to turn professional. So I decided not to play competitively anymore and just enjoy college, get to take the classes I wanted to take, not have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get to the gym and practice. That was the big one for a college student. And then I play now for fun. I don't play competitively anymore. But I do enjoy being out there. It's a great game. It'll make you more mad than anything in the world. And yet you keep going back to it.
So no Emily Wood swag?
No Emily Wood swag. But, I still enjoy going out there and, beating people on the golf course. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Beating them in more ways than one. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, indeed. Sweet. Well, that's interesting indeed. So, wow. So, my goodness. So, speaking of mom, like, my goodness, that actually is probably a big reason why you got this marvelous book today, if I'm not mistaken, called Birds of paradise indeed, which actually will probably make a great Mother's Day story, no less.
Yeah, it definitely has a unique backstory to it. When I was 13, shortly after my family moved from Colorado to North Carolina, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that was shocking. It would be for anybody, but as a 13-year-old girl, you're just about ready to hit that part of your life where you really need your mother. And the breast cancer she caught it very early. It's a side note, great promo here for self-exams. She went through, some surgery and some radiation, and everything went back to normal. And then a couple years later, she was diagnosed with advanced stage ovarian cancer. And back then, statistically, she really wasn't going to make it. You had a year, maybe 2 years at the most with the type of cancer she had. And she decided that just wasn't acceptable. She was a very stubborn woman, and she was determined to see me walk down the aisle at my wedding. So she found some doctors that were willing to take her on as a patient and not a statistic. And she was there when I got married, 13 years later, 13, 14, I don't know how old I am at this point. And her two doctors were there as well. So she just, she defied everything anyone told her. And she learned to live with it as a chronic illness and not a death sentence. But then in 2012, unfortunately, after years of chemotherapy, she wasn't able to fight it anymore. And so she passed away on Christmas. And
Ouch.
yeah, it came fast, which in a sense is a blessing. You don't want to see somebody, struggle for a long period of time knowing what's coming. So at the end, it was, she was there one day, and the next day she was on life support. And so not long after she passed away, I found a letter she had left for me with a copy of a manuscript. She had started writing a book not long after she had first been diagnosed. And she spent hours writing it and never let anybody read it. I constantly asked what it was about, and she said, "You'll know about it someday." So when I found this letter, it was a long letter she had written not too long before she passed away. So I think in her mind, she kind of knew where things were going to go. And part of the letter said, here's my book. I hope you'll finish it with your story. And it was about 50% of the way done. And so I read it for the first time, and it was a very emotional moment for me. And then I spent the next 8 years writing it, and I never intended to publish it. And I happened to be in the right place at the right time, and all of a sudden I have a published book.
Pun intended again, huh? Right place
Yes,
at the right time, huh?
it was a gift. It was a gift that I think she always meant to leave for me. And I couldn't be more honored that she entrusted me with her characters.
Oh yeah, because that's definitely huge, and so sorry for the loss of your mother. I know it's been 10 years, but hey, as with grief, it doesn't matter. That's your mom. Like that's
Yes,
very precious to anyone. So
it is.
yeah, yeah, yes indeed, man. My goodness, so 8 years in the writing process. And it's like, hey, finish the story. Like, my goodness, so like how was
Well,
that? How was that process?
it was an interesting one. At first I had to read it and get to know her characters, because she had developed all of the characters except for one. And all I knew was the name and who that character was supposed to be within the story. But she left no notes for how she was going to finish the story, and where she wanted to take it. And I think she did that on purpose. I think she always knew that I was going to be the one to finish this. So she wanted to give me the freedom to do, what I wanted to do to the story. But it was very important to me that I stick to her style of writing and her characters, her story, because this was hers. And she is very poetic, very detailed, with rich prose. Tons of research went into this to ensure that the events and the places were historically accurate for the time. And so I had to go back and do the same thing. I'm in marketing and advertising. Brevity is where you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to, spend 500 pages trying to describe one event. So my writing style is incredibly different. So it was easy to come up with where I wanted to take the story. I actually wrote the ending before anything else. But then I had to go back and add on layers and layers and layers of description. And where I started and where it finished as published is so far apart from one another. I had to do the research. This book starts in 1967 with the main character, Ariana Haywood, is a 17-year-old senior living in San Francisco, and she's on her way to UC Berkeley. My parents lived in San Francisco in the 60s and went to UC Berkeley as well. So they've got some incredible stories that they can tell. But I had to try and describe these places that I took the story during a time period that I wasn't alive. And so that's what took a long time. And, I also had a baby in those 8 years and switched careers, or opened my own business for marketing and consulting. So I wasn't writing for 8 straight years, but it did take 8 years to finish it.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right indeed. Yes, indeed. And if I'm not mistaken, you actually took an Italian archaeology class too, right? Just
I
for the book?
did. No, actually, not just for the book. As a journalism student, there was a requirement that we do an area of study and focus outside of the journalism school. And I took a lot of English classes because I loved to read. I loved writing. I always found it really interesting. But after I graduated from high school, my parents had taken me to Italy because from the time I was a young kid, I had an odd fascination with Mount Vesuvius and Pompeii. And I used to read, before I could even really read, I had a National Geographic on Pompeii that I'd really just look at the pictures of before I learned how to read. And so they wanted something, a really special memory, which is something my parents were always very adamant that we'd have these because we didn't know how long my mom was going to be around. And I fell in love with it. I couldn't believe seeing it for the first time. It's so vivid in my memory what it was like to see Mount Vesuvius for the first time. And so there was a history requirement outside of the journalism school, and I did not want to take US history again. Not that it's not incredible, but I just couldn't handle the Revolutionary War one more time. And so an option was to take an ancient archaeology course based in the Mediterranean area. And I fell in love with the subject and ended up taking, I don't know how many courses from 2 particular professors, and came very close to having a minor in archaeology. But I did it for fun.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Hey, that's right. All the volcano swag. That's right.
Yes, yeah. I even took volcanology courses in college too, just to study volcanoes. So I have a wide variety of interests.
Ah, yeah. So, did you ever draw yourself doing ballet at a volcano?
No, I did not. Yeah, that's a whole other part of my life. Gosh, you did some research, didn't you? Yeah, I danced ballet for a long, long time, never professionally, but enough to destroy my joints on point shoes, and then golf became my main focus.
Yeah, that's gotta suck. Like that's usually what I hear from folks who did ballet. It's like, oh yeah, your joints they hate you after a
Yeah,
while
yeah, they
with the
really
point
do. Yeah,
shoes.
I mean, it's a lifelong battle after you're done dancing. So, but ballet has also been, it's very central to my life. I love it. When I moved back to North Carolina from Florida, which is where I went after college for a job, I actually did grant writing and fundraising for the professional ballet company that's here in the city. So I was able to turn my love of ballet into a professional pursuit.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Yes, indeed. But back to that magical writing, though. So my
Yes.
goodness, like with writing, basically taking the baton from your wonderful mother and really putting pen to paper to finish it. Like how was the process of really changing your writing style? Like how were you able to successfully do that? Because you're right, like that's something I tend to, well, I wouldn't say struggle with, but something that I'm probably lean towards as being on the brevity side of the game as opposed to describing a table for 10 pages.
Right. Well, I mean, it was, journalism, any type of writing will teach you sentence structure. So, first I got everything down almost as an outline where, if there was something that I knew I wanted to describe in a particular way, I'd write it that way. But then there was other places where it was just more, hey, they're going to this place. And then, or there's a house or there's an event or a particular landscape. And so I got that all down and then went back part by part, not even in order, and just it was almost like an oil painting. I had to add layer of what did this particular thing look like? How did the air smell? Anything, just to get it to the level of beautiful writing that my mom did. And it took a lot of looking at pictures online just to see what things look like visually so that I can then take parts and pieces of a bunch of things I love and create it. This book is definitely a letter to me, and that through the fiction of the story, my mom is leaving bits and pieces of herself and bits and pieces of advice, the things that she wanted to share with me and never knew she'd had the time to do. And so, there's a lot, if you knew her, a lot of things that, were her and us. And, clearly I now know what she thought about my high school boyfriend, and it wasn't flattering because clearly there is a character based on that person, but only I would know that. And now the rest of the world, now that I've just shared that. But so I got to carry that through. The part, from that black and white line that I wrote 100% is very personal without being an autobiography. I take the story to places I've been and, events that I have lived through and feelings that I have had. So that actually made it easy to create this story and then going back to layer the detail. And going back to make sure where I took this story made sense. I didn't want it to look like two separate books. So I had to go back to what she wrote and add in some events, add in some conversations, change a few things here and there. But this is ultimately her story. I didn't change that much. I did cut a few scenes of hers here and there that, because the book is already 570 pages long. So I'd cut back a little bit here and there because there was just no logical place to split it into two books. And, that's kind of how it all came together.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. Yes, indeed. Wow, that's interesting. And because you plan to write other books too after this one, right?
Yes, I mean, I have a story outline in my head. It's actually would be one related to Bird of Paradise, but right now it only lives in my head. I've tried to start writing it, but between being extremely busy right now with things that actually make me money, I just have not had the chance to really start developing it on the page yet. Someday, though, I hope so.
There you go. Well, I know there'll be happy bunny ears that'll wait when it finally comes out your head.
I hope so. The response to the book has been absolutely incredible so far. So more than I could ever imagine. My goal, once I realized I was going to publish it, was to sell it to one person that wasn't a family member or friend. Unfortunately, that's happened several, many, many times. So I'm thrilled.
Congratulations, indeed. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Indeed.
Now I just need to get movie rights, and then life's complete.
Good. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Indeed. She's like, "Yay, big screen."
Gotta think big. Gotta think big.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Got to think bigger than two sumo wrestlers, y'all. That's right. Got to think big indeed. That's right. That's right. Maybe think Great Wall of China size big. Maybe even bigger than that somehow.
Yes. Yep. Just go for it. You want something, just go for it.
That's right. You heard that from the golfer herself, y'all. Just go for it. That's right. Oh, man. So since you've been on this little mini podcast tour promoting the book and everything you're gonna be doing in the future, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
Oh, goodness. Um, I don't know. I That's a really good question. I know some of the things that I would love to share is the story behind a few of the pieces in the book itself. Some funny moments that would completely embarrass family members of mine. But why not go for that? But there's been so many podcasts that have either been book based, where I can talk about the technique and the writing and what that was like, and then I've done one of the amazing things that this book has brought me are the people that have reached out to me who I don't know, who went through a similar experience to what I did with growing up with a parent facing a terminal illness or losing a parent. And so that's where a lot of things on podcasts have morphed. All of a sudden, I'm talking about what it was like to go through it, how I approached the grief of losing my mom, and what it looks like now that I'm 10 years out from it. Because the grief period, no two people will go through it the same way. And you can't put a black and white roadmap on grief. It's impossible. It just changes over the period of time. And 10 years out, I'm still grieving for the loss of my mom. I mean, being a mother myself has really been difficult without my mom. But the inspiration and the comfort that I have been able to bring to people that have reached out to me has been a gift above and beyond having this legacy of my mom's book. And I truly believe inside that this is her, that this was her doing. And that's just been incredible. So I guess I didn't really answer your question about what question I'd want to be asked, but I don't even know.
Hey, it's all good. I could probably imagine your mom's probably like up there in the sky, be like, "Yeah, she's got the pirate hat. Like, aha, she's doing well. That's my girl."
I'd like to think that. I would like to think that. She was an incredibly strong, stubborn woman that lived life to the fullest every day. And I like to think that I try and emulate the same thing. I fail a number of times, but it's I try.
Well, ain't nothing wrong with the good old college try, That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. Especially if it becomes content later.
We hope so.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, my goodness. So, with that grief, I guess with the writing, any advice from your perspective of how to deal with grief after losing a parent?
I think it's really to let yourself grieve. So many people are afraid to, to show any emotion outside. They want to, be strong for other family members. They want to, at some point you do have to go on with your life. And then there's that guilt in a sense of, should I still be sad? Are there things that I never said, to this person that has passed away? And I think it's the thinking you should be in a different place of grief than you are, and feeling that guilt along the way are things you have to let go of. And I can say that now, but I have carried so much guilt over things that I said to my mom. I mean, I was a typical teenager. I didn't get along with my parents all the time. And I can go back, just years and years and years, and pull out one teeny tiny little thing that I said that I now feel guilty about. But I think just letting that go, knowing that, the person that has passed away knew you loved them, letting yourself go through the stages of grief in the time and the way you need to go for them for yourself. I think that will bring almost a sense of lightness, not to try and fit into these little boxes that we're so often put into of, this is where you're supposed to be in the process, because it's not like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Indeed, yeah. Yeah, such is life. It's like, growing up, it's like, especially rebellious teenager phase. Like, yeah, get the boyfriend the parents don't like, or the girlfriend the parents don't like, and it's like, oh, like you can't tell me how to do this. You know nothing. You're not young anymore. Yeah, And then as you age, it's like, you know what? Maybe they were on to something.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, particularly looking back now, I realize, ooh, they knew what they were doing. And as a mother now, I can totally see the other side of it. And I'm sure he's only 7, but he has an attitude. He can give me a little bit of an attitude. So, what goes around comes around, I guess.
That's right. No escape, as they say, right?
Exactly.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, any major lessons you learned from mom that have applied to your life now that you tend to live out, like any core values or anything?
I think, something that she always said, and it actually featured a major theme throughout the book, was that we can't always choose what happens to us in life. We can only choose how we're going to respond to it. And it's very difficult to when things happen, whether they're good or they're bad, you can just let it take you in a direction of your life, particularly if there's bad things where you don't function anymore. I mean, having a mother with cancer, I could have just given up on everything, focused on that, and become, let this cloud over my head. But my mom was always very, making sure that I didn't dwell on it, and that I responded to something not in the negative way. And I think that's really important throughout your life, because you can't control it. It's impossible. No matter how hard you try, you cannot control anything, but you can control how you respond to it. And I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons my mom has taught me, and why she put it so heavily into the book, and why I took it on through the part that I wrote. And I think it's particularly, relevant now with what's going on in the world. I mean, we can't control what's happening in the world right now, but we can control how we deal with it personally. And I think learning to take control of your response can ensure that you live a happy life.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right. Because control can be an illusion at times. It's like, oh,
It is.
yeah, you have control. And then out of nowhere, it's like, we're just going to pull this rug under you for real, so,
I think if
real
you
quick.
think you have control, it is an illusion. If you think you have control, you have no control. So,
Oh, yeah, that's right. Especially when it comes to the remote control. It's like, yeah, you think you have control, but all the channels suck on TV. Let me stop.
exactly. Pretty much.
It's like, I have the power. No, no, it's
Nope.
all delusion. That's why it's called television programming. It's illusion. Let me stop. That's right. You may even see an ad from Emily on there. You don't even know it. That's right. You're already going to buy it. That's right. Just leave the credit card number right there. Just lean on the pin. That's right.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. Well, funny question I would love to ask guests recently, and since I love your freaking positive energy, and I'm pretty sure I was a lucky guy for having you with all this wonderful positive energy you have, and that is, if your wonderful book, Bird of Paradise, was a food item, what would it be and why?
Oh, um, mm, I don't know. I would say creme brulee, because it's smooth and sweet and decadent, and you finish it and you just want more.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about.
And
Indeed,
it
that's
sounded
what I'm talking.
awfully egotistical of me too, but I'm proud of this book. I know you're going to want more when you finish
We heard it there, right, folks. That's right. And
it.
besides, why would that be egotistical anyway? It's a food item. We're selling the book here. It's like, hey,
Well, it's funny because marketing and advertising is what I do for a living. But then when I have to apply it to myself, it's almost impossible. You would think I'd know how to market this and how to talk about it. And it's just so different. And I've had so many authors ask me, hey, how do you do it? Because you do this for a living. And I was like, well, I don't do it for a living for myself. And it's very hard.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's like the IT guys, like, hey, you're gonna fix my printer, right? Like, no, I just mess with the network. Like, no.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, nah. It's like it's my day job, but it doesn't always apply. It's like, square peg, round hole sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now I might be able to get the triangle in the square hole, but like not the
Yeah.
square peg and round hole. That's not
You
gonna work.
got a heavy hammer, you can do just about anything. So never give up.
Ah, there we go. That's right. That kickboxing energy came through, y'all. That's right.
It's a great stress release. That's why I do it. So,
No, I totally agree. Kickboxing is amazing. That's right. Indeed. Get that sweat in, get them kicks in. That's right. It's like, yeah, I get to hit something
yes, yeah, I
legally.
get to. Yes, that's what I was just gonna say. Yes, I can hit something and not get arrested.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and you probably don't even have to go back that far for it. So, if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're in the current year of 2022 with all of your knowledge, experience, and the book is still published, what advice would you give to yourself?
I would probably give myself the advice of, same thing with my mom said. You can't always, choose what happens in life, but I'm one of those people that if I am not worried about something, I will find something to be worried about, and that can create a lot of stress. So I think I'd want to go back to my 25-year-old self and just say, it doesn't matter that much. Worry about what the things that need to be worried about when they need to be worried about, and let go of the rest of it. Live in the moment.
Woohoo! The LIM, live in the moment, y'all. That's right, the limbs, y'all. That's right.
It's that whole mindful meditation thing, which I fail at greatly sometimes, and then worry that I'm failing at mindful meditation, which is probably the exact opposite of what it's supposed to do. But I'm a work in progress, and I always will be.
There you go. She's a whip, y'all. A work in progress. That's right. She lets it whip, y'all. That's right. Sometimes she lets a miracle whip.
Every so often.
Yeah, there we go. That's right. There you go. All I have to do is just picture a pink golf ball inside of your mind. That's right. And then as the pink golf ball is rolling, it'll then become a rubber duck.
You need to go on the Calm app. You'd be perfect for it, to be that voice, just carrying people through their mindful meditation for 60 seconds.
See, there you go. And you probably only lasted 5 seconds there, so you're doing good already. You're
Hey,
doing
hey.
good already. Saying you're bad. Well, that's the thing, though. The thing is, no one's bad at meditation. I had a couple mindfulness experts on the show, and they're like, hey, you can't be bad at meditation. Hey, so if you can't get 60 seconds, hey, at least you got 30. If you can't go 5 minutes,
Exactly.
hey, you got 3 minutes in. So, hey, don't worry, I'm going to keep at it. You got this.
I'm going to keep at it. I'm not going to give up.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. That way you can extend your youth.
I hope so, because I'm about ready to hit that place where I'm coming on the other side. So any extension I can get is good extension.
That's right, folks. So make sure you call her. And what's your phone extension? Let me stop.
I get enough phone calls as it is. I'm not giving out my phone number.
Exactly. Freaking robocalls and freaking grandparent scams out there. Like,
Oh, yeah.
God. Well, speaking of contact, for those who need to buy tons and tons of copies of this marvelous book and share with their friends and children and heck, even grandchildren and heck, even grandparents, what's the best way for folks to do so and keep up with all the stuff that the wonderful Emily's doing?
Well, the book is sold exclusively on Amazon. It's available on Amazon Kindle Unlimited as well. So you can certainly go to Amazon and type in Bird of Paradise. There's a lot of books about the flower, so just make sure you're actually looking at Bird of Paradise by Emily Johnson and Marilyn Hughes. Or I do have a website, emilyjohnsonwrites.net, and there'll be a lot of information there, a way to buy the book. And there's also a lot of pictures of me and my mom there to really tell the story. So either way, you'll get yourself to Amazon.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about indeed, folks. The tag team action mother-daughter story, baby. You love to see it. That's right, Dave. You love to see it. So head over to that wonderful site. We're going to put the link to that in the show notes, indeed. Buy a copy or 20 of this marvelous book and share it with somebody you care about. Let them know, hey, some birds of paradise, y'all. That's right, some birds of paradise, indeed. These are the good birds, not them evil pigeons that poop on cars, y'all. These are the birds of paradise now. That's right, the birds of paradise, indeed. That's right, indeed. And Emily is a sunshine, a slice of paradise today, so definitely keep up with all the stuff that she's doing. So any parting words before we close up shop?
Ooh, just probably, I don't know, have a great day and live life to the fullest.
How's it going, my friend? I'm so glad you made it to the end. That shows that you are an uncommon finisher, and I am so grateful for you sharing your ears, your attention, and your time to this wonderful podcast. To do something that'll take yourself to the next level, and for everybody else involved in this wonderful program, share it with at least 3 people in your network so that way more folks can not only catch the fire that is on this podcast, but can also be inspired to be their best.